Hey guys! Welcome to Recap Pro. In this video, I am gonna talk about the 1997 action drama film, G.I. Jane. As usual, there will be spoilers ahead, so take them with a grain of salt and let's get started. The movie begins with a Senate hearing that is taking place in Washington, D.C. Lillian DeHaven, a strong senator, chairs the hearing and questions the U.S. military's rules on women serving in combat situations. DeHaven intends to enroll a female Navy officer in SEAL training, one of the most difficult training programs available in the U.S. military, with a 60% failure rate among candidates. At the hearing, she faces tension and stiff opposition from the naval members, but she uses her influence to carry out her plan. With some problems the Navy is facing, Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill is the one who were able to solve the issue. Lieutenant Jordan O'Neill, a satellite communications specialist in naval communications, is the candidate DeHaven chooses. Many male co-workers have less experience than O'Neill, hence she has been considered getting promoted in her division. When O'Neill arrived at DeHaven's office, she asked DeHaven why she was called to be there. O'Neill had no idea that she is DeHaven's best bet to get into the SEAL Navy. Royce, one of O'Neill's superior commanders, is also romantically involved with her. When she decides to take the training course, tensions erupt between O'Neill and Royce. Royce isn't delighted for O'Neill to get into the SEAL Navy. As O'Neill arrives at the SEAL Training Center, she is instantly mocked and discriminated against by her fellow candidates and the base's commanding colonel, who tries to treat her delicately since she is a woman. John Gale, the facility's commander master chief, addresses his trainees for the first time by reciting D.H. Lawrence's poem titled Self-Pity. The trainees are then put through their Hell Week, in which they are put through incredibly difficult mental and physical testing, as this is what it means to be in the military. As the men in the military see O'Neill, they chat around about her and mocks her. Given the difficulty of their training, they are forced to carry large ship fenders over sand dunes, exercise in freezing water, hold heavy rafts above their heads for extended periods of time, and are continually mocked by Gale's employees. Candidates can leave the program willingly by striking a ceremonial bell 3 times if the training regimen becomes too intense for them. The bell can become their salvation if they're already woe out of their belt. They are told beforehand that despite their successes, many of them will not successfully negotiate with the program. Those that do will experience an operational tempo that far exceeds that of any unit within the U.S. Arsenal. The first day of the training is 1000% intense already, and it gets harder as the week goes by. After the first day of a close-to-death training, the senior lieutenant asks if anyone wants to quit, but no would want to. Even if the training's getting hard each day, they press on to not give up on what they have already started. Pain is each one's ally, is what the senior master-in-chief have told them. The trainees' Hell Week comes to an end when they must complete a challenging obstacle course while under live fire. O'Neill is told that at the end of the course, there will be a tiny set of wooden steps to make it simpler for her to scale the wall. She argues about this and is told to remain silent. When the trainees, including O'Neill, reach the wall, she pulls the step unit aside and offers her own body to help her fellow trainees go over it. Cortez, the final trainee, reaches down to assist O'Neill but holds his grip just out of reach, then proposes she retire. He soon received a punishment for his actions. O'Neill climbs the wall with the stair unit and sprints to join her companions, but she trips over a tripwire, indicating that she may have slain some or all of the company. When Gale's staff reads the applicant's times, one of the trainees rang his salvation, the bell. O'Neill is surprised to discover that she passed the course despite being dead last, behind other trainees who didn't finish in the required 12 minutes. She was told she was granted a 30-second buffer, which they call a gender norming. O'Neill meets with the base's colonel, who is never delighted with the concept of a woman being admitted into SEAL training, informs her that the curriculum has been changed because she is a woman. The base's colonel couldn't believe he just got barked by O'Neill. O'Neill requests that she be treated equally to the male candidates, including the ability to live in their barracks. Her request is granted, and she is directed to the barber shop on base. Because the barber is not available, she decided to shave her long hair herself and joins the men in their barracks. Gale directs the leading officer, Viskvire, to put up a schedule to enable O'Neill privacy in the head and shower after a brief argument with one of the other applicants. O'Neill's success in Hell Week is reported to DeHaven back in Washington. DeHaven has also been generating publicity for O'Neill's candidacy, but she has a hidden agenda, which is to use the incident as leverage to avoid military base closures in her own state of Texas while voting for base closures in other states. O'Neill completes the remainder of the training, learns how to operate weapons, field strip and reassemble them, and the effects of interrogation-induced drowning. A fighter, O'Neill outperforms the majority of her male contemporaries and gradually gains the respect of her fellow soldiers, despite being a mess due to multiple injuries and health issues she has. O'Neill is persistent in improving herself even better. She continues to condition herself and continues to outlast many of her male counterparts in the program. In one of the exercise, O'Neill fails to lift herself out of the water during in which they are retrieved from the sea by high-speed boats, though she receives a little help. When O'Neill fails to lift herself out of the water, the other trainees were thrown to the water to join O'Neill. This is how they do it in this exercise to not let anyone get left behind. Later, Gale lectures her about her test failure and informs her that he got the Navy Cross for rescuing a guy considerably larger than himself from a flaming tank. He is concerned that O'Neill will be unable to accomplish a comparable role in war. He also informs her that she would be in charge of a squad when one of the other trainees is forced to depart due to injuries. The trainees then move on to SEER, a critical part of the curriculum. This is the survival mode for them. Talking about how brutal and critical this is, the trainees will be sent on a simulated war mission, where they'll almost certainly be arrested and subjected to brutal interrogation and physical assault. The teams can be penalized for early extraction but can be even more penalized for capture. The teams are dropped off on Captiva Island's coast and directed inland by O'Neill until they come across what appears to be an abandoned compound. They strategize how to win and survive the SEER. O'Neill orders her team on where to go. O'Neill orders Flea to come with her and move out. She asks everyone to listen to her instructions, such as having film from all angles, record weapons, vehicles, counting bad guys, get ranks if all visible. She orders Slovnik and Cortez to check the antenna for communication capability. While executing their reconnaissance operations, Cortez and Slovnik, members of O'Neill's team, depart from her orders and attempt to retrieve a helmet for a keepsake. O'Neill orders them to go back to their original position and not compromise the unit. A shooter shoots the helmet off its perch, trapping them both in a net. O'Neill and the rest of her team attempt to flee into the woods, but they are shortly apprehended. They are held captive and held to the ground receiving punches. As the rain's pouring hard, an exchange of small conversation happened between Slovnik and O'Neill. O'Neill tells him that they are going to be alright, but Slovnik is unsure if they or he would survive, as he remembers that the last time he was in a small space, just like where they are dragged after being caught, he almost didn't survive. Gale, his assistant Pyro, and the rest of their training teachers turn out to be their captives. Ranking officers, including O'Neill, are placed in cramped wooden boxes and carried into the main shanty one by one to be interrogated. Gale preys on O'Neill's perceived fragility and her capacity to carry out one of her squad members who was hurt in their attempted escape when she is apprehended. Gale then begins to brutally beat O'Neill under the guise of the treatment she would suffer if she were actually kidnapped by a hostile. Gale carries O'Neill outside and shoves her head in a muddy water trough, demanding that the other inmates give information about the rest of the SEAL unit in the forest. Gale then threatens O'Neill with rape in front of the entire business. She continues to kick him. Gale rises to his feet and thrashes O'Neill. He staggers over to the prisoner corral, attempting to persuade the team's male members, who have all turned their backs on him, that O'Neill is a weak link that may lead to their deaths. After regaining her footing, O'Neill exclaims out of annoyance to Gale, "Suck my dick." Gale gives up, dejected, while the rest of the team rallies behind her. The squad treats O'Neill to a drink once she returns from SEER training, having gained new respect and admiration for her strong personality and courage. Soon later, O'Neill is summoned to the colonel's office, where she is shown photos of herself with female officers suspected of being lesbians. O'Neill has been informed that she will be returned to Washington and assigned to a desk job while the incident is investigated. If O'Neill wants to finish the SEAL training, she'll have to start from the beginning. After hearing this news, O'Neill couldn't contain all the different emotions she felt. Furious at the bogus accusations, O'Neill terminates his participation in the SEAL training and returns to Washington. She returns to the house she shared with Royce. Royce gives DeHaven's office evidence that the senator had issued a memo to the Navy about the perils of allowing a woman to finish SEAL training and that U.S. public aren't ready for women to fight. O'Neill attends a Senate committee hearing on military base closures and challenges DeHaven directly. DeHaven denies intentionally lowering her career for personal gain, claiming that she's surprised O'Neill made it this far in the training program and that her acceptance of O'Neill's enlistment was a public relation hoax. O'Neill threatens to take DeHaven's actions regarding military base closings to the news units just outside the hearing room, and DeHaven promises to get O'Neill back into the SEAL program and does. O'Neill returns to her unit to join her squad. The final round of training will take place in the Mediterranean Sea. Gale's crew is instructed to participate in an emergency mission while waiting for orders aboard a submarine. A U.S. satellite has crashed in Libya, and the U.S. Army Ranger team dispatched to recover it requires assistance getting to their pickup location. According to O'Neill, the plutonium in the satellite is weapons-grade and could readily slip into hostile hands. O'Neill and Ergale separated from the rest of the team after landing on the beach to reconnoiter a nearby Libyan camp. When a Libyan border patrol party unexpectedly appears, O'Neill hides while Ergale covers him. They quickly realize that the Ranger team may have been discovered. When one of the party member approaches O'Neill's hiding place too closely, Ergale shoots him, drawing the attention of the man's comrades. O'Neill and Ergale flee, with O'Neill safely returning to the beach. She suspects that the chief will not draw the Libyans back to the rallying point for both the satellite recovery unit and the SEAL team, so she identifies another location where the chief is more likely to retreat. The team prepares an ambush with a minefield there and the chief arrives. Ergale is shot in the leg during a fierce firefight, and O'Neill rushes into the minefield and drags the chief out. The mines are detonated, and the team is able to flee. They receive assistance from a helicopter unit on the beach and are all loaded onto one of the choppers and lifted out. The movie ends with the successful graduates who got to receive their pins for finishing the course from Ergale back at the SEAL training site. When O'Neill goes to empty her locker, she discovers a copy of D.H. Lawrence's poetry, complete with a Navy cross affixed to the poem Self-Pity. She notices Ergale, who gives her a quick glance before exiting the locker area. Ergale's lecture to the contestants before they enter Hell Week precedes the closing credits. That's all for today's video, and thanks for watching it. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, let me know in the comments below which movie you want me to cover in the next video. Until next time, take care and stay tuned.